Hi everyone, good morning, welcome. My name is Michelle Murphy and I'll be leading Yoga for Athletes today here at Yoga's Arc, so welcome. Yoga's Arc wants you to put your health first, and yoga is an activity that does require physical exertion. So please ensure you're in proper physical shape in order to do yoga, or if you're unsure or if you have a pre-existing medical condition, make sure that you consult your physician before beginning any sort of a yoga regimen. So welcome to Yoga for Athletes. I like to incorporate yoga, Pilates, as well as some mindset training into my Yoga for Athlete classes, so I hope you'll enjoy. Let's go ahead and make our way onto our backs. And just before I go, if you have a block, make sure you have that, or maybe a book, that will help as well. We will be doing a couple of postures that may require a little bit of a lift instead of the hand all the way on the ground. So just make sure that you have something around that will give you that ability to put your hand all the way down. Let's get started. Let's make our way onto our backs. Our legs outstretched. Put your hands up overhead. Grab opposite elbows. Let your body relax into this posture, and I want you to start to breathe. In through the nose and out through the nose. Let's just first start with some simple breaths here to let the body settle in. Let the back of your body firm up onto your mat. And just start to focus your thoughts here on your mat for the next little bit as we perform the postures that we need to become the better athletes that we all want to become. Yoga for Athletes is certainly applicable to anyone that does any sort of physical activity. One could certainly argue that anybody that moves their body is considered an athlete, so really this is good for anyone, but we'll be working on some specific things, some ground reaction forces that all athletes can reap some benefit from becoming better at. So that's what we'll focus on today. So with your breath, I want you to start to imagine that your rib cage is a 3D image. And I want you to feel as if your rib cage is coming up towards the ceiling. Your rib cage is going out to either side of your mat, and your rib cage is pushing down into your mat. So as we're taking our breaths, take a big inhale in, and let the small of your back come up off the mat. And then on the exhale, let the small of your back imprint down into the mat. So we're really crunching down here, almost like a little mini crunch in your abs. And then inhale. Let the rib cage expand, small of the back comes up off the mat. And then exhale. Push the small of the back down into the mat, feel your rib cage contract. Continue with some big breaths in through the nose and out through the nose, following that same premise here. We're really working on warming up the rib cage, warming up our core muscles, and just getting started for some movement here that we'll have between our thoracic spine and our hips today. I want you to take 5 more deep breaths on your own. Once you've completed that 5th breath, go ahead and relax the arms down to the side. Let's plant our feet about mat width apart. Move the block here just in case. And with our feet about mat width apart, we're going to start with some windshield wipers, starting to warm up the hips. So drop the knees from right to left with a nice wide stance, and allow your hips to roll up off the mat. We don't need to be firm here. We want to be moving our whole body from side to side. Just gently starting to warm up and move the body in different planes of motion. One of the things I like to incorporate into my Yoga for Athletes is working in all 3 planes of motion. That's forward and back, side to side, and then in a rotational movement as well. So that is one thing that we try to do, as a lot of sports or a lot of different things require us to move in all three planes of motion. So that's the beauty of using yoga when you're an athlete, because you get that automatically with a lot of the yoga poses. Now let's bring our arms up to cactus arms. So just bend up your elbows. You can point your fingers towards the sky and let the back of the hands just relax down towards the ground. We can keep the knees moving here. And then I want you to start to move the arms. So start to keep the cactus arms and start to come up and let the hands come forward and then let the hands go back. So just as you're dropping knees from side to side, just start to move the arms along with it. Internal and external rotation. So you can think of a lot of different sports that use this type of movement. I can think of golf, baseball, hockey, anything where you're swinging or throwing. You're definitely using your internal and external rotator muscles in your shoulders. So we want to make sure that we're warming those up as well. Let's go ahead and come back to center. Let the arms come down long, resting your hands right by your hips. Let's bring the feet in a little bit closer so that our heels are right in line with our hips. And what I'd like you to first do is, I want you to start to draw the heels back towards your hips so you feel the back of your hamstrings here starting to fire up. Now your feet aren't actually going to move, but we're just going to intend to slide those heels back by pushing the feet into the ground and then dragging back. Keeping that engagement through the heels, start to lift up through your hips, up towards the ceiling. Squeezing our glutes. Sometimes we hear we don't want to squeeze our glutes in bridge pose, but when we're doing yoga for athletes here, we really want to engage here. We need a lot more strength in our glutes, so we want to take every opportunity we can. And as we continue to glide those heels back, you'll definitely feel that engagement just automatically. So holding it here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slowly start to lower your spine back down to the mat, one vertebrae at a time. And let yourself rest here. We're going to do a second bridge posture, and this time we're going to match our breath to our movement and start to incorporate a little more movement into the bridge posture. So let's plant our feet once again, start to get that engagement with the heels feeling like they're going to drag back as you're pushing down into the mat. Really engage here, start to feel your hamstrings fire up, and then start to peel your hips up off the mat and hold it there. We're squeezing the glutes again. On your next inhale, let's rise the hands up overhead, and then exhale, let the hips drop down. Inhale, let's find that drag back, push the hips up, arms up. Exhale, hips down, arms down. Inhale, pull up. Exhale, back down. Let's do a few more here. One more. Release your grip on the mat. Let your feet relax here. Let's bring our feet straight up towards the ceiling. Let's rotate our ankles. Feel as if we're going to step on the ceiling here. Let the small of your back imprint down onto the mat. And just start to warm up the ankles, making big circles clockwise and counterclockwise. Maybe even just point and flex the toes. Starting to get a little bit more of a stretch down the back side of the body. Let your right leg come back down to the mat. And let your left leg just fall over as if you're coming into a twist, so that your legs are in an L position. So that top left leg is coming straight out, and that bottom right leg is going straight down towards the mat. Now flex your feet. So I want you to point your toes back up towards your nose, exactly where they sit. Let your arms come straight out in front of you, palm to palm. And on an inhale, we're going to open up with that left hand, rotating open, seeing if we can touch the back of our wrist back behind us, and then exhale, we're going to close. Inhale, open, feel that twist through your thoracic spine, and then exhale, come back to center. Inhale, open, make sure you're keeping that lower body engaged, flex the feet, exhale, close. Let's do 3 more on our own. Move as slow or as fast as you would like. I really like to open up and see if I can really stretch my back arm a little closer to the ground. Takes me a few tries to finally be able to touch. Starting to warm up the thoracic spine, that rib cage area that we worked on through our breath. And let's relax. Let's roll back up onto our backs. Plant our feet. Bring the legs straight back up towards the sky. Find a little more motion. Maybe you even bend the knees. Let your left leg come back down to the mat. Right leg stays extended. And then let the right leg drop over for that twist. Arms out nice and wide. Think about that L shape. Point the toes back up towards your nose so that your legs are engaged here. They're pushing down into the mat. Let the right arm come up and over. Inhale. We open up your right arm. See if you can touch the back of the wrist behind you. Exhale, you close. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. One more here. Exhale, close. Let's roll back onto our backs. Bring the knees into the chest. And I just want you to find a rock forward and back and massage along your spine. Get enough momentum to come all the way up. Let's come into a tabletop position. So we're going to be on all fours, knees right underneath the hip, hands right up underneath the shoulders. And let's just start to rock from side to side, warming up our wrists. Maybe start to add in some motion through the hips here. So as you're rocking from side to side, maybe you drop your right hip down, roll over to your left hip, come forward up onto your hands, just working in a circular motion from right to left. Let's do that a few times. And then let's switch. Go in that opposite direction. So sit back on your left hip first, then roll to your right hip, come forward. Let's come back up to a neutral tabletop. So our back is nice and flat here, as if something could sit right on it. And we're going to extend out our right arm straight out beside us. So hold it there. Get strong in your left arm. Then I want you to take your left leg and send it straight out to the side as well. So it's going to look and feel a little bit funny here. I'll show you from the front, so we're from the side here. Now we're going to crunch. We're going to bring that right elbow to the left knee and then extend back out. Keep crunching here. Working on some strength on the outer part of our hips and through our shoulders and shoulder blades. Let's do one more. And then let's switch. Let's go to the other side. Whatever arm you didn't use the last time, let's extend it out. I'm on my left arm, but if you're on your right, go ahead and do that. Let's extend out the opposite leg. Hold it there. I can really feel my outer part of my hip working here. And then start to crunch, elbow to knee. Extend. Keep moving. One more. And release, nice. Let's just sit back on our heels. Find your block or a book and have that available. Taking a couple deep breaths here. Already breaking a sweat. Really working hard. Energetically moving through our movements. That's the beauty of yoga for athletes, is we're able to put a lot of energy throughout our entire body. We never want to feel like our body is loosey-goosey in any way. We always want to be activating our body so that we get the optimal performance that we want out of our bodies, no matter what sort of sport or activity that you participate in. Let's go ahead and take our block. Let's come back forward. Let's take our right leg forward here. I'm actually going to show you from the side. So we're going to come up. You can see my knees are at 90-90, so my right leg is up here. My knee is right over my ankle, my back leg as well. We want to get a little body activation here. So on this back leg, I want you to push your shin down into the mat. The second you do that, you're going to start to feel this whole left side start to fire up. That glute's going to want to start to squeeze. You're going to feel it in your hamstring just by pushing down through your shin. Now on this front right leg, keep that back leg activation. And I want you to take this right femur bone and pull it back. So as you pull back, you're also going to feel that foot engage once again, pulling that right heel back. So it's almost like a scissor motion here. We're not actually moving, but we're getting that energy here. So the right leg is pulling back, left leg is pushing down, and you should feel a ton of energy happening in your lower body here. Let's take the block, let's place it right between the hands, and extend the arms out straight in front of you. Trying to keep that lower body engagement. Let's take an inhale in and slide yourself forward. Let the knee come over the ankle. Let's twist to the right, come back to center, and then back up. Re-engage here, make sure the legs are there. Inhale, drive. Exhale, twist. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, upright. Let's keep moving here. Inhale, drive. Exhale, twist. Inhale, back. Center. Keep the lower half activated. Let's do one more. Drive, twist, center, and back. Let's let that go. Take a moment here. Maybe with this right hand on the block or a book, bring it down right beside you, plant your right hand, and bring the left arm up. Let's get a side stretch. Feel the stretch down your left side. Let's come back to center. Now we're going to switch sides. I'll bring my left leg forward, bring the opposite leg forward for you. Let's start that lower half activation first. So drive down with the shin bone, with the leg that's back. Feel that activation first. Then, on this upper leg, let's start to pull the femur back. Feel as if you're driving your heel back as well, so they're really kind of getting that scissoring motion here. Block between the hands, and let's start to move. Inhale, we drive forward. Exhale, twist. Inhale, back. Exhale, upright. Inhale, drive. Exhale, twist. Back. Inhale, drive. Exhale, twist. Inhale, back. Upright. Do one more on your own. And then let that relax. Take a moment, and then when you're ready, on that opposite side, left hand down, plant the hand on the high part of the block, and find a side bend down your right side. Let's come back to center. Let's release the legs. Let's come up to a standing position. Keep the block where you can find it real easily here. We'll need it in a few postures. So we talked about working on some ground reaction forces. So we've been working on that a little bit, that scissoring in the legs that we felt, the pull back of the front leg in that last posture that we did. That's about using the ground here to really harness that force so that you're activating your entire body and being able to drive that energy from your feet all the way up through the top of your head and out. If we're only generating power from our hips up, then we're really negating all the strength that we have in our lower body. So we always want to think about everything that we do comes from the hips. So today, what I really want to work on, especially in our standing postures, is harnessing that and learning how to use those ground reaction forces. So let's start with chair posture. So I just want you to come towards the front part of your mat. Your feet are going to be parallel to one another with a little bit of space. I want your arms to be just straight out in front of you. You can see here, it doesn't need to be up high or low, just straight out in front of you. Tighten your triceps here, the outer part of your arms, so we're activating the upper body as well. Now let's take an inhale in, and on the exhale, I want you to sit down and sit back. I'm going to show you from the side here. So I want you to rock back into your heels. I almost want you to feel as if your toes, you could wave them. You can see my toes are moving here. So really make sure the seat is back. If you look down at your toes, you should be able to see them. If you're too far forward here, then rock back. Let the seat come back. Let the knees drop back. And we hold here in this chair posture. We're holding here. Now I want you to feel as if you're driving your feet about a foot below your mat. So really push down with the bottom of your feet. And then I want you to feel as if you're ripping your mat apart. It's not going to move once again, but we're going to really activate the outer part of our thighs to get that activation to pull the feet apart. Sit down deeper. We've got this. 3, 2, 1, release. Come on up. Shake out the legs. Woo! It's a lot of activation. We're going to do one more. Really get these legs fired up and engaged. Bringing up that force from the ground just harnesses all that all the way up, especially if you're in a golf swing or any sort of a baseball swing, even soccer. If you're playing soccer and you want to harness that, we'll work on some single leg things, but same thing, we want to push down into the ground so that we're not light-footed. We want to be heavy with the ground using that force. So let's come back into our position. Arms straight out in front of us. Inhale in, exhale, we sit down, sit back, look down, make sure that you can see your toes and your toes are nice and loose. Don't keep the toes up, drop the toes back down to the mat and start to push down. This time I want you to think that you're pushing about 3 feet below your mat, really driving the feet down into the ground. Now start to rip the mat apart, keeping that engagement down and then pushing out. Holding it here, sink down deeper. Release. Whoo! Come up, let that go. Excellent work. Whew. Shake it out, take a couple breaths. We're gonna come back up to the top of our mats. I'll do this from the side here. We're gonna come into a crescent posture. So from the top of the mat, I want you to take a step back with your right foot and just land right on top of your toes. So we're not putting the foot down for a warrior position. We're staying up in a crescent position, so high on the toes. We're going to bend deeply into this front knee, so if you need to find some space here, take the time. Let's bring the hands to heart center. This helps me focus a little bit. And now we're going to keep the front left leg exactly where it is, and we're just going to focus on this back leg. So what I'd like you to do is from this high position up on the toes, I want you to push down into the mat, straightening the back right leg. And then I want you to bend the knee down, straighten. Bend the knee down and straighten. We're not moving in the front leg here. All the activation is in the back leg. We're feeling as if we're pushing towards the back of our mat with our heel, really tightening the front of the thigh, and then let the knee drop towards the ground, bend the knee, and then push back. Keep moving here. A few more. This really fires up the quad. 3, 2, and 1. Release. Take a step up. Woo! Yes. Really working on that back leg here. Another trick that you can do for this one is to do this against a wall. In fact, I'll demonstrate it here for the second set. So let's take the left leg back. If you have a wall, you can get to it. I happen to have one right behind me. So you can see my toes are still on the ground and my heel is just resting kind of up against my baseboard here. Right leg forward, make sure you have some nice space. And we're going to drive. So straighten the leg, make this straight as an arrow, and then drop the knee. Straighten, drop the knee, drive the heel into the wall or towards the back of your mat. Straighten, bend, yes. Woo, that left quad. It's talking to me. 3, 2, and 1. Release. Shake that out. Whew. Yes. Now let's start a little bit more activation here. We've warmed up our legs here. We're getting our feet nice, rooted and grounded into our mat. So we'll start to work a little bit more on some balance things. So let's come up to the top of the mat. And I'd like you to bring your left leg up, just parallel to your mat here, up about hip height, holding it there. We're going to hold it here, and what I'd like you to do is just take your leg out to the left and then back. Just moving the leg, working on a little balance here. So think about driving that left foot down into the mat to find your balance, and then just move at your hip. Try to keep that left leg or right leg, whichever one is down, exactly where it needs to be planted, and we're not light in that foot, we're very heavy. Let's come back to center and release. Shake that out. You can always have your arms anywhere. I'm super used to just having my hands at heart center for any balance postures, but if it's easier for you to have your arms out, please feel free, or up, or maybe grabbing opposite shoulders, that's excellent as well. Let's bring the right leg up. Holding it here. Find your balance. Maybe I'll do my arms out this time. And then start to move, gliding that leg out and back. Opening into external rotation. That grounded foot is pushing about 3 feet below your mat. Really firing up this whole side of your body to really maintain this posture so that we can move with the lifted side. And release, let that go. From here, we're going to move into a warrior 3. So I'm going to demonstrate from the side. So what I'd like you to do is bring your right leg up. Start there, and then we're going to kick back. So really tuck your heel up into your seat as we move all the way back. We want to feel that hamstring working here. Keep it tucked, let the body come forward, and then extend out the right leg. Let's take attention to the right foot. I want you to feel as if you're stepping into a wall. So point the toes down, tighten this front thigh, and feel that stepping motion here. So we're very energetic. We're pushing down 3 feet below the mat with the left leg. Now let's just start some little knee dips on that left side. Keep the energy through the lifted leg. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. Bring that right knee back up, and then release it down. I'm not always super concerned in yoga for athletes whether or not legs are completely straight. You'll probably see I was probably looking a little bit more like my leg was a little bent as I was trying to do that, and that's fine. We're really just looking for that activation, and we also need to be aware of what our own flexibilities are. If you need to bend your knees, there's no reason to keep this standing leg locked out if that doesn't feel good. Put a little micro bend in the knee and really activate firing up those glutes. So let's move to the other side. This one I'm also going to demonstrate against the wall, so if you have the wall available, you can do that. It's one of the beauties of being able to feel that step against the wall, to feel that activation, is to do this against the wall. So let's bring the left leg up. Keep the heel in nice and tight. Let the body come forward as the leg goes back, and then go ahead and kick back into your wall. Get aligned here. So find that space that you need to get a nice kick here. Keep a micro bend in the standing leg. And really push into the wall. Ooh, I can really feel this. Glute is all fired up here. Pushing into that wall. Leg does not necessarily need to be straight. We just want to feel that push. Now let's get some micro bends going in the standing leg. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. Woo! Let that go. We're going to add on one more element to that warrior 3, and that's just a little bit of an upper body twist to really work on our balance. You You can do this once again against the wall or in the air. In the air is a little bit harder. I like to do this against the wall because it really lets me ground. So I'll demonstrate against the wall, and then I'll demonstrate as well off the wall so that you can see both the differences between the postures. So let's come back up to the top of the mat. Let's bring the right leg up first. Kick back, keep that heel in. Let's come back into our warrior three. Find the connection with the wall. Really push with that back leg into the wall. Feel the grounded leg pushing down. Now with that position, I want you to start to rotate the upper body towards the left side. So keep the lower half activated and start to twist. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's release. Woo. Let that come down. Now you can tell with that twist, just in the air, it's going to be tremendously more challenging, which is fine. We like the challenge. Those of us that consider ourselves athletes, we definitely want to challenge ourselves. So start easy or easier. Would never call that posture easy. But then start to move away from the wall and see if you can keep the same activation. So let's move to the left side. Left leg up, keeping that nice tight hamstring curl. Kick out with the left leg. Feel that step on the back wall. Driving down with the standing foot. And then we start to twist to the right. Nice, easy twist here. If you fall out, you just get right back in. See if you can just move from your upper body, from the thoracic area. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. Come back up. You'll have to let me know how challenging you thought that was, especially if you were just up in the air, not stepping on the wall. All right, let's move on. Let's come into a warrior two. So let's take a step back with the right leg. You can let the heel come down, so your foot's going to be about 45 degrees. And we're going to have the left toes pointing towards the front of the mat. Find some good space here because we're going to want to move a little bit. So make sure that you have some good space between the feet. Knee over ankle. Tighten this back right thigh. Really push into the mat here. Feel the outer edge of your right foot pushing down. Let's bring the arms out wide. Fingertip pointing to each side of the mat. And sink down into the left leg. Take a couple breaths. So on your next inhale, we're going to come together. We're going to pull the heels together, straightening that front knee, pulling the inner thighs together, pulling up from the ground, and then exhale, we're going to extend back out into our warrior two. So inhale, pull the heels together, straighten that front leg, feel the activation of the inner thighs, and then exhale, drive back out. Inhale, let's do 2 more. Exhale. 1 more. Nice. Now let's tick tock that left elbow down to your left knee, your right arm up. Inhale in, stretch up. Exhale, rotate to touch the inner part of your left ankle. Inhale, open. Exhale, we crunch. Think about closing the canister around your ribs so that you're really pulling down with the ribs, almost like you're flattening out your back like we were in our beginning breath. Keep moving here. Find some rotation. 3, 2, and 1. Bring the right arm back up. Let's come back up into our warrior two. We're just going to pivot our feet here. So switch around. Right leg starts to bend towards the front of the mat. Your left leg and left foot are now planted down into the ground about 45 degrees. Tighten this left leg. Push into the front right knee. Arms are extended. Take a couple of breaths. Now, just like we've been doing with that activation, we want to feel the heels pulling together. They're not actually moving, but we're harnessing that energy from the ground. It's coming up through the inner part of our hips, up through our body to really feel that energy coming up. So let's take on our next inhale. Pull together, straighten that front right knee. Feel the activation coming all the way up into the hips. Exhale, extend back out. Inhale, all the way in. Exhale, back out. Inhale, drive in. Exhale. One final one. Exhale. Let's release. Step forward. Shake that out. Woo! My feet are working. My feet are tired. Feel them. Let's work on a little bit of balance. So coming up towards the top of your mat, let's bring the left leg up and let's cross that left leg over the right knee, opening up the knee. Bring the hands to heart center and let's start to bend into the right knee. So only go until you feel a nice stretch. If you can come all the way down, come down. Maybe your fingertips will come down to your mat. If not, just sit low. We're just working on the balance here. We want to feel on that right foot all the little ligaments working here, working on that balance, as well as working on some flexibility here on the outer part of our hip. Let's release, come up, shake that out. Let's go to the other side. Right leg up, over the top of the left knee, and then start to bend. Think about pushing with that standing foot 3 feet below the ground. Every time I do that activation down, it just activates all the muscles up on the outer part of my leg as well as the inner part. It's tremendous to be able to actively do that. Let's come back up. Shake that out, let that go. And we come into a tree posture, working a little bit of different planes of motion. So tree, if we come up to the front of our mat, let's bring the left leg up on the inner part of our right knee. And it can just be low. We don't need to be super high here. Just have it somewhere on your calf. Just enough to open up the knee and find the balance on the standing leg. Let's bring the arms up overhead. So on an inhale, I want you to really stretch up. And then exhale, I want you to bend over to that same open knee and come back. Bend, come back. This really challenges us. We're moving here in the frontal plane. Final one, bend and back. Let's release. Let leg come down. Move to your opposite side. Opposite leg just up on the calf. Knee is opening up. Hands up overhead. Inhale in. Exhale to the right or whichever leg is open. Keep moving with that rhythm of breath. If you fall out, just get right back in. It's what makes us yogis. Release, let that go. Let's come down to the mat. Maybe sit down. I like to get a nice stretch here, so if it's comfortable for you, just sit down, back on your heels, maybe grab your knees. Really feel that stretch here in your low back. Give yourself some love. And then let's find ourselves seated. Make sure you have your block available. We're gonna work on a little bit of core. Nothing like an athlete wanting to work some core, so let's do that today. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take the block and stick it right between the knees. Nothing special here, just enough so that you're really having to press in with the inner knees to hold the block there. I'm gonna turn to the side so you can see here. So we're gonna do some roll downs, keeping this activation with the block. So I want you to bring your hands just to the back of your thighs, and I want you to slowly start to walk down as you let your body come down. See if you can touch all the way down, just below your shoulder blades, and then start to walk yourself back up. We want to keep the feet planted here, so don't be using momentum by bringing your feet up. So only go as low as you think that you can handle to get back up. If you get all the way down here and it's too much, then go a little less. and then pull yourself back up. So even if it's just to here, because that's where you know that you can get yourself back up without keeping the feet or lifting the feet, then do that. Let's keep doing this. Let's do 3 more to your distance that works for you, but no lower than below your shoulder blades. 2 more here for me. And 1 more. Come all the way down. Nice. We're going to keep the same position here with the block, the activation right in between. And what I'd like you to do is start to rock back just a little bit, about halfway down the thigh. Let's extend the arms out, and let's start to rotate right to left. Keep the activation in the inner thighs and the core, and just keep moving here. I'm touching the outer parts of my fingers as I'm moving from side to side, so maybe that's your goal today. And our rotational strength here in our obliques. And let's release. Let's let that go. Let's roll all the way onto our backs. I'm going to keep the block handy here. So I want you to take the block in this long direction, and I want you to place it just on the front of your right thigh. Then we're going to roll up, and we're going to bring that left elbow to come to the front of the block and hold the block there. So your right arm is just going to be relaxed. We're going to take that right arm and bring it up behind our heads, and we're going to extend the left leg long. From here, start to pulse the left leg up and down, up and down. You can go fast, you can go slow, but you're definitely going to feel those obliques and all those core muscles working up the front side of your gut. Hold it there. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Woo, release. We'll switch sides. So take your long block, place it on the front of your left thigh, bring that left knee up to meet that. Right elbow across, holding the block up, left hand behind the head, right leg extends, and we start to pump. Up and down. Keep moving here, we've got this. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. Bring the feet down to the mat, place your block off to the side. Let's start to just do a little bit of stretching here, stretching out all the different ligaments here and muscles that we used in our hips. So I want you to bring your right leg straight up and just interlace your fingers on your hamstring or right behind your knee. Left leg extends long. Only go until you feel some tension. There's no reason to wrench on the hamstrings. Just because most of us sit all day, especially those weekend warriors. We sit in our offices and then we get out on the weekends. Really puts a lot of stress here on the high hamstrings to really stretch the hamstrings in this fashion. So just go until it feels good for you. If the tension releases, then maybe you pull the leg a little bit further. Let's get some ankle circles. Working on our ankle mobility. Can't say enough that if you're an athlete and somebody that moves a lot, the more you can walk barefooted, the better off you'll be. Our shoes are like casts for our feet, and they really rob us of the ability to feel those ground reaction forces that we worked on earlier. So the more you can do with your shoes off, the better off you'll be when you're playing your sport or being active in the way that you want to be. You want to keep everything as mobile as possible. Now I want you to bend the right leg, or bend the right knee actually, just let the knee drop. Grab the right knee with your right hand and just let the knee open up towards the right side of your mat. Try to keep that left hip down, maybe even place your left hand on top of your hip point here, just to keep the body from rolling all the way over. We don't want that. We want to try to stay squared here. knee back to center. Switch hands, and with your left hand, start to pull your left knee across the body. For a gentle twist, you can extend out your right arm. Eye gaze can even go over your right fingertips. Come back to center. Let's switch legs. Let the right leg go. When you're ready, left leg up towards the sky. Interlace your fingers behind your knee or hamstring. Gentle stretch. Bend your left knee. With your left hand, start to guide that left knee out towards the left side of the mat. Right hand on your right hip point. Just to remind yourself to keep your hips down and squared to your mat. Let's switch, come into the spinal twist, grab with the right hand, pull the left knee across the body. You can extend the leg out straight if that feels good. If not, just keep the knee bent. I like just having my knee bent. Take your eye gaze out over the top of the left fingertips. Release. Let your left leg go long on your mat. Let's come into a final resting position. I want you to come back into that same position we started in. Hands up overhead, grabbing opposite elbows. Legs can be relaxed, maybe even a little bit wider than we started. I want you to close your eyes and start the deep breathing again, that 3D breathing around the rib cage. So really expand up towards the ceiling on the inhales, and then on the exhales, we're pushing down into the mat. And as we're closing our eyes, I want you to just have a few moments here on your activity of choice. So often, even as we get a little bit older, we still have goals in the activities that we choose, in the sports that we choose to play. Or maybe we're still in high school and college and really trying to get the best benefit that we can out of all of our training sessions. And that all starts with finding the right mindset in order to train. So take a few moments here to really concentrate on the breath. Think about a time in your training regime that you had just a really great workout. And I want you to remember the feeling of that workout, not so much what that workout entailed or what you were doing, but I want you to see if you can connect with the feeling of having that great workout or great hike or great soccer game, where you scored the goal in the final game of the hockey season. Connect with that feeling. We have highs and lows, always. Without the lows, we can never appreciate the highs. But if we learn to train our bodies to come in touch with the feeling of what we feel like when we're at our highs, then our mind knows that that's what we need, and our mind will tend to go there more frequently. So find that spot and let's take 10 deep breaths. Once you've come to that 10th breath, go ahead and release the arms. Then come back down to your mat. Let's plant the feet. Maybe shake the head from side to side. Let's roll over onto your right side. Start to push yourself up into a seated position. It's been my honor and pleasure to lead you today. As always, leave a comment if you need, or if you're looking for any specific types of training that you need for any specific sport, certainly let me know. I'm more than happy to put things together for specific types of activities that we do that really focus on the different movements that are within those activities. So just let me know. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. It's been my honor and pleasure to lead you. May the higher good in me honor the higher good in you. Namaste.